Krista, thank you for being here today.
Oh, I'm elated. We've already cruised and gotten warmed up, and so I'm ready to rock. I'm so excited to see you. It's been such a pleasure and a joy to know you. You have this real magical ability to be very powerful and clear, but also soft and warm and approachable.
Mhm.
And I just feel such love when I see your face and when I see your name, and I'm grateful to be here.
Thank you so much. And I am so grateful that you are here. First of all, I met you a year ago. We met in London at an event that you and Victoria Washington put on, and it was really divinely guided. Like, I remember getting the email and knowing both of you from just Instagram. And I felt called. I told my husband, I said, I think I'm supposed to go to London, and I think I'm supposed to go to this event. And it was like not knowing why. And then meeting both of you. And then you and I, of course, two Ohio girls, both Miami University grads. There was like this affinity and this connection right away.
Yeah, when you meet someone from Ohio, I love Ohio. It's stunning. I'm so grateful to have grown there. But I think when you meet someone from your hometown, you're just like, oh, you get me in a way not a lot of people do. And you're listening to the call of attending the event is just such a reminder for me of trust. I
Mhm.
think when you're a creator or where you're an entrepreneur or when you do things that you're like, hey, I hope you guys like this. I hope you come to my event. I hope you do these things. I just always have to trust that it's not even about me or what I'm doing. I create the invitation. It's about your relationship with God or your relationship with your
Mhm.
soul that's going to call you to the place, that's going to call you forward to the medicine that I particularly had in this moment. And so it's such a great reminder for me of trusting my process and trusting that the right people are magnetized to me at the right time.
Oh my gosh. And at the event too, I know one of the things that you love talking about, and I've seen you over time even expand, is using your voice and also using your love for God in a way that
Mhm.
is so powerful. There was like revival at that meeting. There were people that came in, and it was supposed to be an event about elevating our voice and really standing in our power and learning to use this vehicle that we have in communication. And yet, the spirit was moving throughout that room in every single woman. Like, I literally get teary thinking about it because it was so
I know I have
powerful.
chills. What I've noticed over the years, so I'm someone that grew up Catholic, growing up in conservative Catholic Ohio, and I didn't feel as connected as I would have liked to just
Mhm.
growing up in the church. And so I lost my way throughout my high school and throughout my younger years. And I've rediscovered and come back to God in the past 5 or 6 years. I've been someone that's been deep in the spirituality and wellness space. So in that space, there's a lot of different offerings, there's a lot of different modalities and ways of being and ways of learning and
Mhm.
ways of practicing. But what I found is that there's a totally different experience. There's a totally different frequency and there's a totally different purification and feeling when you are connected to the Holy Spirit. And you can feel it in the room, you
Oh
can
yeah.
feel it in your body, you can feel it in a way that I never felt when I was doing any other type of spiritual practice or principle. And it's really shown me how the way of God is the way for me and the way of God, and having this one foundation, this one reference point, this one source, rather than 20 deities or 20 whatever. It's like, it's
Yeah.
just made such a profound anchor in my life. And I bring it into everything that I do.
It's so evident. And even before you and I hit record, I asked if you wanted to set an intention, and you started a prayer. It was so beautiful. And we invited God into this
Mhm.
conversation and for the greatest good of all, which is what I do even before I meet with guests, which is so beautiful. And I want to talk about the book, because the book
Mhm.
that you and Lindsay just wrote, Almost 30,
Mhm.
Definitive Guide to a Life You Love for the Next Decade and Beyond. You sent me the PDF of the book and I got to read it. And I'd already pre ordered it for my daughters because I am decades beyond 30. But
I'm
I
looking
have,
like a 20-year-old snack, let's say.
thank you. And I have two daughters that are in their 20s. So my youngest is 25, my oldest is turning 27 soon. And I ordered a book, but now I'm like, no, I need to order a second one because I want them each to have their own book. Because in the book, you covered every single thing that one I wish I had when I was in my 20s. Every topic, it's like you're writing a letter to the younger version of yourself, and you're also gifting everybody who reads it with wisdom that they'll get through their own experience, but it's like an inspiration to say, you're going to be okay. look at where we were, look at how much has happened in our life when we didn't know what the path was going to be to unfold. And you cover soul, God, body, relationships, purpose, money, literally every
Mhm.
single thing that all of us as humans think about and struggle with. But from the perspective of, if you're in your 20s, this is what was happening and this is what we've
Mhm.
learned in the journey. So, how did the book come to be? Whose idea
Mhm.
was it? Did both
Mhm.
of you know you wanted to do it together?
I'm so excited for your girls to get it. It's
Yeah.
the best. So it really is a spiritual guidebook to adulting. I don't remember really getting much guidance beyond college. I'm so grateful I went to college on how to live life, on how to connect with God, on how to love my body, on how to be with finances, on how to find my purpose or be on purpose or have a career that I was excited about. It felt like it for me where I grew up and how I grew up. It was like get a job and then life just goes on and you just continue. And for me, as a spiritual seeker and as someone that feels so deeply and always wants more for life and always has wanted to create a life that I love, I was so unhappy in my 20s. You know,
Mm.
I felt so lost. I wanted to find purpose. I wanted to find meaning. I wanted to find connection. And that brought me to a place where I was depressed and anxious for most of my 20s. And so my desire to do something with my life and my desire to find meaning and my desire for happiness or peace was really a lot of the inspiration that led us to creating Almost 30, which is the podcast that inspired the book. And the period in your 20s, mostly your late 20s, is so important because this is when your prefrontal cortex comes online. So, your prefrontal cortex is responsible for your consciousness. So, from the point until you're around 25 and 26, you're actually just acting in the way that everyone tells you to act because you haven't yet made it like brought to your frontal lobe. So, you're just doing what society tells you to do, what your parents tell you to do, what everyone else tells you to do. So, when you have this awakening, this consciousness come online, it can be really powerful because you can now create a life that's meant for you and your soul, or it can be very scary because you don't know why you're doing what you're doing or where you are. A lot of times people will have this experience in their 20s where they're like, whoa, I'm in this job. I'm in a relationship I'm not even aligned to. I'm a person that I'm not even excited about or want to be. And that can be really scary because a lot of us go through life without this feeling of connection to self or feeling of connection to purpose. And so we wanted to really provide a space where we could help people in that awakening journey and help people live a life that is specific to them, but is like something of purpose and magic and beauty. And I think if I would have had this book, I would be not only so much further on my path because it's not about that, but I would have been so much more happy and at peace. And I would have known that this is all happening for purpose and for reason.
Mhm.
Because in my late 20s, I was working at a job that I didn't feel aligned to. I was in finance management consulting in Chicago. I was in a high rise. I was wearing the heels. I was doing the things and I was miserable. I was crying almost every day in the cry room. I had this room on the 13th floor. I named the cry room because I just hated my job. I was in a relationship with someone that was amazing, but I didn't feel connected or I didn't feel we were aligned. And then I was also in friendships I didn't feel excited about. And I was drinking and partying and I was just doing all the things that everyone told you would make you happy, but weren't making me happy at all. And so when I burned it all down and left the job, broke up with the person, ended the friendships, I lived in Patagonia for a month. I just did all the crazy stuff. I stopped drinking. My soul was like, we're going to make this really crazy and we're going to make this, you look insane. But I knew it was like all things that actually ended up being really beautiful things to put me on my path of spirituality, of health, of deep friendships and relationships, and all things that were good. But for many of us, it's almost like the burn down of everything or the rock bottom can seem so scary, but it's actually when we can build a life that's for us and that's for God and that's more aligned to who we came here to be.
I love that. It's so interesting because so many Ohio girls, right, move to Chicago, go get the job in consulting and finance, especially if you go to Miami. I was in banking for 22 years. I don't know if
Yeah.
you knew that. And it's so interesting when there's always a defining moment. I don't know how long you were crying in the room, but I was crying every day as well. How long were you in the state where your soul was telling you? That's why you were crying. Your body's
Yeah.
telling you, your soul is telling you, Krista, everything here is not for you. But
Mhm.
you still decided to wait. Like there was this wait period. Like how long were you waiting before you finally decided enough's enough? I have to leave.
But I just
Mhm.
want to say I'm so grateful for this question because I haven't been asked it. And I just feel like it's such an important part of this process. And what I know now is that my feelings were indicators. It's not normal to be unhappy every day. It's not normal, but it's like I was not feeling well. That should be the only sign that I need. Feeling good is often the only sign that you need. And my feeling of unwell, my feeling of anxiousness, my feeling of misalignment, my feeling of this discomfort was really all the signs of my soul calling me forward to do something, to leave the relationship, to leave the
Mhm.
job. And so I would say I would go in and out in this job of that sort of feeling of sometimes my ego would get validated and I'd get a raise or I'd
Yeah.
go on a trip or whatever. But it really was just a constant nagging of what am I doing here? How am I making a difference in the world? Like, how did I come here to be? How can I be in service? It was a soul frequency and a soul truth that I feel like is unique to my experience, unique to your experience. I do believe that there are people on this planet that really did come here to change things and really did come here for good and really came here on mission. And when you are someone that's like that, which I can imagine almost all of your audience is like that, you will not be satisfied with the world. Be of the world, but not in the world. Like you will
Yeah.
not be satisfied with worldly things. You will be only satisfied when you have a spiritual connection to God or when you're connected to something greater or when you're on purpose. And when I was trying to satisfy myself with the worldly things, shopping, drinking, my job, money, whatever, I was never happy and satisfied. And so I would say the moment that really shifted things for me was not as much me, but God. So at my first job, my boss was someone that was really inappropriate with me. And I didn't really understand, to be honest. I just thought boys will be boys. I thought that was what men do. And I thought that's how they talk to women. And I thought it was normal. And my another manager at the company reported him for sexual harassment on my
Mm.
behalf. And so I became a part of this case for sexual harassment. And so where I was feeling uncomfortable and unhappy and unaligned, I was scared to leave. And so God stepped in and was like, this isn't ideal. This isn't comfortable. This isn't good.
Yeah.
But I'm going to make it known that you shouldn't be at this job in this place. And so that kind of propelled me to leave the job eventually. And through that, I've learned that God's going to give you little pebbles. And hey,
Mhm.
you don't feel good. Hey, you're crying in the bathroom. Hey, you're not even that productive, whatever the things are. And if you don't listen or you don't take on and notice those little pebbles or those little feelings, God is going to throw you a boulder and he's going to blow up your life. He's going to make you move. And God really had to make me move because I really didn't have the confidence or understanding at that time of where I was going or why I would move when I didn't feel good.
Yeah. There's so much that you said there that completely resonated with me. And it's interesting. It made me think. I was at a mastermind like 2 weeks ago,
Mhm.
and a friend of mine from Australia, he does somatic breath work. And before the event, he did breath work for me and for another friend who's also in the spiritual space. And a lot of stuff comes up during breath work. That night, I had a dream. And in the dream, my friend who facilitated was my subconscious mind, showed me that I stuff and I eat the things that want to come out. I just actually eat them back, put them back in, and then I'm like stuff, stuff, stuff. And it's something we learn because if we were thinking clearly and could acknowledge that if I am having a feeling and emotions are coming up and my body, my mind, my heart hurts, everything is telling me this is not right for you. And we are still consuming and stuffing it back into our body. And in your case, God was like, let me just make this a little bit easier for you, Krista, because you're not going to do it on your own. And for me, it was very similar too. Sometimes, like the signals, the pebbles, the little tap taps are not enough. And we need something a little bit that stronger that wakes us up, that shakes us up.
I'm so grateful you brought the food conversation in and the body
Yeah.
conversation in because that is such a real poignant example for so many of us. And for me, for most of my life, the way I was relating to food was to avoid feeling, to
Yep.
avoid speaking my truth, to avoid my power, to make myself feel uncomfortable. It was just, I was using food in such a dysfunctional way, overeating, binging, restricting, controlling, counting, all of these things. And
Mm-hmm.
when we can be really in our truth and acknowledge how we feel and honor how we feel and be in right relationship with our soul, then we're going to relate to everything differently, including food. And I think so many women are using food as a crutch to not feel because they're big feelers, or are using food to stuff down their voice and to keep them out of their power and numb. Food is such a numbing agent. And I think if we really want to change our life, and we can start by looking at the way we relate to food, and we would be blown away at the things that will come up.
Yeah, it's so true. It's something I've struggled with too. I remember as a little kid, like my mom would always say, you have to eat everything off your plate. So that was for me a trigger and something that I still have to remind myself, like, just leave a little bit. Even if you're full, learn to trust your body to tell you when enough is enough, not what is left on your plate. And that's decades of undoing. And so you have made a big shift. And so I know you
Mhm.
talk a lot about metamorphosis, which is one of your programs too, but you've made a really big shift in terms of your relationship with yourself through self love, through the way you appreciate your body. And it's physically, you've seen a transformation as
Mhm.
well. So I'm just curious, like, how did that happen? When did it start?
Mhm.
Because there's crazy stories in there about the trip to Mexico. Like, I don't want to give too much away in the book, but
I
you've got some
know.
really interesting things in the book, especially in the body chapter, that it made me sad. I could
Yeah.
see myself in that story.
Yeah. So I'll explain my journey with my body, and I'll explain a little bit of the Mexico story because it was a low point. It was probably my lowest point of my desperation to change my body, my desperation to be thin. The whole life that I wanted was on the other side of me being thin. The
Mhm.
relationship, the success, the money, the joy, the freedom, and the liberation. And if only I could be thin, if only I could be in a body that I loved, then everything would happen to me. Everything good in my life would happen. And it was only my problem and my issues with food that was keeping me from that. And I'm someone that grew up in a family that was really interested in bodies and really interested in what people looked like and their weight and their physical appearance. They would talk about people on TV, they would talk about other people and what their bodies look like, and if they were fat, if they were thin, all of this stuff. And then they also hyperfixated on my body from a young age. I had an older sister who was very tall and thin, and I just wasn't. I was just had little curves from a young age, and I was focused on as being a problem for that. And I'll never forget my mom, love her. We're very close, but she said the biggest fear that she had when becoming a mom was that her kids would be fat. And when you're little, you metabolize that as, okay, I love my mom. I need her. She's everything. And so the biggest fear, I don't want to ever have her realize the biggest fear, or I don't ever want to be rejected or abandoned. And so being fat would be that. And so there's little comments that our parents can make or that we can hear in social media or online that really set the stage for a dysfunctional relationship that we have with our body for the rest of our lives. So those type of comments compounded with the crazy diets that were available for us, Slim Fast, Grapefruit, Master Cleanse, South Beach, like all of this stuff, like grapefruit, I did them all. And a lot of it was my fear of my power. A lot of it was a dysfunctional relationship with my mother and looking for nourishment and soothing from something
Mhm.
outside of me because I didn't know how to be with myself. And that lasted pretty much my whole life until the past couple years. And I'll never forget, I was walking across my living room at my old apartment that I shared with my ex. And I was just running through my day, a normal day in my mind of my Tetris game. I walked to this many steps. I worked out this much. I ate this much.
Mhm.
I had this many macros. I weigh this much. And I was doing the math that I did every single day. Okay, so I
Mhm.
worked out this much. That means I could eat this much. That means I shouldn't have had this much. That means I should weigh this much. And it was just like so much energy, time, and attention being spent to all the math that relates to the body and food. And I thought to myself, I think I'm going to spend my whole life thinking about this. And I think I'm going to die playing these games. And I'm going to die on this hamster wheel. And I'm going to die with this obsession with my body and with how I look and food. And I just had this like acceptance a little bit where I just surrendered. I was like, you know what? Here we are. This is what it is. And for some reason in life, I've realized that when we can accept things, then we can transform them. And this is actually a concept coined by Carl Rogers, who's very powerful in the psychotherapy space. He talks about the paradox of transformation, that oftentimes we have to accept things truthfully for them to transform.
Mhm.
So from that point, I was able to find a therapist that supported me in my body journey. I was able to start to do parts work, internal family systems, which
Mhm.
changed my relationship to my body. And I really just started on this healing journey that was not only physical, where I was doing hormone panels and changing my supplements, and I was also just really diving deep into the spiritual and emotional and mental components of the relationship that we have with food. Because I think if we want to change our body, we have to change our mind. We have to change how we relate to food. And I've found that over the years that the relationship to food is so much more than just calories in and calories out and what we're consuming and eating. It's how we're relating to it, how we're being with it, and so many more things. And so at this point in my journey, just to bring people where I am today, I am so deeply free. I'm so deeply at home. I am so deeply pleased with my body and how I relate to it. And it doesn't mean I'm the perfect weight or not the perfect weight. I don't know how much I weigh. I don't really track anything. It just means that I can now be and know that I'm so much more than a weight. I'm so much more than a scale number. I'm so much more than calories. I am a soul that is choosing to be here on earth in this physical experience and in this body, and my soul experience is so much more the priority now than my physical.
First of all, you're just so beautiful inside and out, Krista. And when I
Oh,
see
thank you.
you, your inner light shines through. And I'm always curious when people spend so much time, as we all do, as many women do, tracking and doing all the things, and just the amount of energy that we spend thinking about all this stuff. What has been the shift in other areas of your life when you let go and you're like, oh, wait a second, I don't need to spend all of my energy, all of the goodness that I have on tracking, and I'm going to just treat my body with love, love myself. What else has shifted as a result of that? What were the biggest
Yeah.
changes that you've noticed?
Yeah, I want to answer that. And I just want to speak to the radiance piece. If I'm living in an experience where my entire mindset is there's something wrong with me, I'm a self improvement project that never ends, I am something that needs to be fixed,
Mhm.
that frequency and that energy is what's surrounding me. That's what people are seeing and experiencing. And now that I'm just like here and I allow my inner light to shine out, there is so much more radiance and beauty. I've actually felt more beautiful than ever by letting go of that kind of conversation with my body. But I've noticed so much change and shift. I'll say a first thing that's been really present for me is I was in a long term relationship and we broke up. We were together for 10 years, and I've been dating and being in relationship with men. And I think for a lot of women, we don't allow ourselves pleasure and we don't allow ourselves to enjoy our bodies and experience our bodies. And that doesn't just mean sexually, but it means like
Yeah.
also cuddling and loving and touching and being close with someone. And when you love your body and you're comfortable in it and you feel safe in your body to receive and experience love, I've just experienced this really beautiful exchange of energy with men that feels so safe and so tender and so respectful and so joyful because I love, honor, and respect my body. And then therefore they do too. I've also noticed that I'm able to be more myself in every moment. It doesn't mean I'm perfect, but it means I can go into any room and it's me that they're seeing and speaking to, not the part of me that feels like I'm not enough or the part of me that hates my body or the part of me that wants to control their experience with me. It's really me and it's my soul and it's the person that I am. And so I've had better, deeper relationships with people, whether it's work or friendships. And then I would say, as a third thing, what I've also noticed is that I'm able to go so much more deeply in my spiritual practice because I no longer have so much noise of the
Mhm.
conversation around the body. So my mental capacity is just like 50 fold. I'm able to do
Yeah.
more, produce more, create more, experience life more because I don't have this second conversation constantly happening. And just a last thing that I'll say is I'm very intuitive, I'm very psychic. So now that I'm out of that mental conversation, it's really challenging for me to be around women that struggle with their bodies, not because it brings up something for me, but because
Yeah.
there's an aspect of you that's never fully present. You
Mm.
are always in the game and the rat race and the maze of your body, how much you worked out, how much you're eating, what you shouldn't eat, what they weigh, and you're just never fully present. And so I'm now able to be fully present because I'm not thinking about anything related to my body. I'm just here in the moment.
That's so true. And I think people
Yeah.
forget we think that we have a body and that the soul is within, and actually the soul is so expansive, our spiritual body, and the body is just the physical vessel that we have right now. And when we're able to take better care of it and honor it and see it as an extension of our spiritual self, something shifts, and something shifts to then our relationship with food. And just by blessing food, there's a really beautiful practice of saying grace, of giving thanks. It makes the whole experience holy and sacred, which it is, because you're feeding and nourishing this one vessel that you have for the rest of your time here on earth. And if we could just make that shift, I know that when I'm present in that way, everything is different. I'm able to enjoy the meal. I'm able to eat slower, to savor. I love the word savor. It just sounds exactly the way it is, to just savor and to
Yes.
enjoy. It's one of the earthly pleasures that we've been given.
Yes, I love that. And I love that too, just to bring to people the ritual that they can do to support themselves. Because when I talk about this body stuff, if I was listening to me when I was really struggling, I would be like, that's absolutely not going to be my reality. That's never going to be me. That's not possible. But it is really things like what you're talking about that makes such a difference. So,
Mhm.
ritualizing your meals. What I love to suggest for people in metamorphosis or just in general is to take the time to have at least one meal a day undistracted. So that means no phone, no media, no YouTube, no podcast. That means even in quiet, not in your car, not rushing, not standing, sitting in front of your food, praying over it, blessing it, which changes the vibrational frequency of the food, and just really allowing yourself to be present to the texture, to the five senses, to the feeling of what it's like to be eating this nourishing meal that you've been gifted. Like, there was so many things that had to happen to bring that food to your plate and to your body and to your table. And when we can eat slowly, not only do we digest food better, but we actually feel more satiated, we feel more satisfied, we feel more connected to our bodies and to other people and other things. And so eating one meal undistracted is a huge way that people can reconnect with their bodies and food, and something that people can do today.
I love that. And do you bring the metamorphosis process into the retreats that you
Mm.
do as well?
Yeah, so the metamorphosis process is really about changing the relationship you have with your body by changing your mind. It's a spiritual approach to body transformation. And I do the method. I'm going to be doing the method this summer at Omega in New York. So we're going to be doing the metamorphosis method with everybody. And then I was going to do it in Switzerland, but I changed my Switzerland retreat to be about the divine feminine. And there is body elements to the divine feminine, but I just really have felt so many women crave to be more connected to their feminine and to their softness and to their intuition and to their rest and to their power and to their groundedness and to their oracle. And I really want to support women in feeling more connected to that, because I've found that the more connected I am to my feminine, the more connected I am to my wholeness, to my truth, to all aspects of me. And it's just been such a beautiful thing that I really didn't know what I was missing out on until I became more connected to my feminine. And now that I am in my feminine so much more often, I have a great balance. I'm in my masculine, I'm in my feminine, and I don't
Mhm.
judge either. But now that I'm in more in my feminine, I've just been able to just savor life, like you said, and have the juiciness and richness of life be experienced in a way that I want for all women.
I love talking about masculine and feminine energy because I think intuitively, my entire life, I've spent a lot of time in the masculine, probably because that's what's rewarded. Our whole entire educational system is based on that. It's all achievement based, validation, work harder. And then you move into, of course, higher education, especially you got to jump finance. I did too. And we're surrounded by male energy, and we're surrounded by this constant approval when you are acting in a certain way. And I don't know that I ever had a playground to be feminine. Like, I don't even remember a time where that was just a permissioning. I don't think I ever had that. And so now, finally, later in life, being able to say, no, I want to experiment being more in my feminine. And we're not talking about gender. This is not gender for people that don't know what we're talking about. The masculine is really going to be the drivement, the achievement, staying on task, all the things that we're rewarded for and are really positive. And The feminine is being and resting and allowing yourself to be in the creative space, being connected to the divine, being more in your spiritual practices, all of that. And when I allow myself and give myself permission to do that, the most amazing things happen that I never would have been able to do on my own. It's just
Mhm.
like in the act of surrendering that so much goodness has happened. So I'm curious, what was
Mhm.
your introduction into the feminine? What are some of your favorite practices? And how do you bring yourself back if you find yourself defaulting into the masculine for too long?
I love that we're going in this direction. This is like one of my favorite things. I'm like, ah. What I'll first say is that I like to also bring in the texture of remembering that for a lot of us, we demonize the masculine because we
Mhm.
believe that's the problem. But for a lot of us, it wasn't that we were in the divine masculine, it's that we were in like an unhealthy masculine, like a toxic masculinity, distorted, just doing, producing, creating without reason, the endless not enoughness, disconnection with the body, disconnection with self, disconnection with God. So a lot of us weren't necessarily in divine masculine, but it's like a toxic masculine. And then we've also probably had experiences where we've been in like a toxic feminine, like gossipy, competitive, like judgmental. So there are aspects of things that we have to grow through in life.
Mhm.
But my relationship and journey with being more in my feminine really happened at the end of my relationship. I had been in this relationship for a very long time, and the template I saw of relationships was that the woman overfunctions, she does everything, she's controlling, she's like always leading, guiding, facilitating. She is responsible for understanding the money, she's responsible for earning money, she's responsible for the direction, she's responsible for the guidance. And the man, my dad in this case, who's an angel who I love, but wasn't really strong or solid or didn't hold a frame or container or didn't create a space where my mom could feel safe to be in her softness. So they had an imbalance. So I saw relationships as imbalanced that I needed to hold the frame of the masculine. So when I left that relationship after so long, it really gave me this permission slip to reintegrate and recalibrate to my natural state, which is more balanced masculine and feminine. And so for a lot of people, it can be a little bit more challenging if you aren't in a relationship to support safety that allows you to be in the feminine. Because to be in divine masculine or divine feminine, you first need to be safe. So finding that safety within yourself, within your body, is going to be the thing that is necessary for you to experience and exhibit and be in your feminine or your masculine. And so when I created that safety within myself through therapy, through internal family systems, parts work, then I could really be like, okay, I feel soft and safe enough to feel comfortable in my body, to savor food, to create and paint, to slow down, to rest, to not do so much because I realized I was over functioning because I didn't feel supported in the relationship. So I would say the relationship ending was a huge, huge component for me. And now it's just been a really beautiful unfolding of recoming back to the feminine. And more so, I want to bring through recoming back to wholeness. I love my masculine. I feel so grateful that I've created so much with it, that it's helped me so much. It's helped me balance, it's helped me stay logical, it's helped me stay connected. And it just was in a place where it was really doing a little bit too much, and we didn't have enough of that softness coming in.
Yeah. What is your human design?
Generator. I'm a generator. I think I'm a 3-5.
Okay. I'm a manifesting generator. And so I think us generators, we have so much energy. And so we are built to do and to get things done. And like you said, it's great when we're in the divine masculine and still remind ourselves that it's okay to be in the feminine and be softer and rest and do the things that sometimes don't require us to perform and to be on all the
Yes.
time. It's like such a
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
performance driven thing. And
Yes.
so that's been helpful. But I want to go back and talk a little bit about the relationship, if you don't mind, because I know
Mhm.
you've talked about the ending of the relationship. So I'm curious, when you're in a relationship for as long as you guys were together, 10 years,
Mhm.
and there is an identity that comes along with being a part of a couple. And so when that relationship ends and you are just Krista right now, and you were together from a young age. So I'm curious, what is it like to build an identity outside of somebody else? Just Krista, now after all
Mhm.
these years?
Man, I tell you, it's the pleasure of a lifetime. It's the joy of a lifetime. Again, this man is an amazing man. He
Yeah.
was instrumental to my sculpting and developing. And I'm not saying you're saying that, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying that like nothing about that. But
Mhm.
to be someone that had been in relationship most of my life and had been codependent and someone that defined myself in relation to others. And I think a lot of women that are empaths, that are deep feelers, that are people that care very much for others, we oftentimes self erase or self sacrifice or forego what we truly want to do and create in life for the comfort and safety of connection. And I had been doing that for most of my life in my friendships, most of my life in my romantic relationship. And so to come out of that space where I had been not speaking my truth, I had been denying what I really wanted in life, I had been dishonest with myself about who I was and what I felt and what I wanted to create, is just such a pleasure and feels like such a opportunity and almost like addictive, where I'm like, wow, I love now only checking in with myself and being like, okay, what do I want to do? What do I want to create? Who do I want to be? It's such a beautiful opportunity to really truly check in and sculpt and redefine and recreate. And I think at the end of the relationship, women usually process while they're in relationship. So I was really processing the last
Mhm.
year, the breakup and the breakup that I knew was coming. And so I used a lot of that time to recalibrate to my own essence and my own frequency and the person that I was. And so when the relationship ended, I felt really good. I felt really excited. And now it's just been an even more beautiful experience of getting to know myself. And what I'll say last is that when you really truly know yourself at the deepest core level, and it's outside of the lies and outside of the illusions and outside of the limiting beliefs and the lack of self-worth and the self-hate or the judgment, and you truly know yourself as a child of God and as divine and as perfect, it is like your standards just go through the roof, and you no longer have availability or exception or opportunity for anything less than the best, because you know how incredible you are and you know how much you have to offer. And so now my standards for friendships and relationships and my partner are just so incredibly high in a way that feels really healthy, in a way that feels really true, in a way that feels exciting.
I love that, and I love that you're sharing actually your dating experience online.
Oh, yeah, because you're a subby.
I'm a subby.
You guys, my subbies get the tea.
We get the tea. So I pay to know what's going on in Krista's life in her sub community. And my husband is vested in your dating life. I think I messaged you because we were watching some of your videos and he's, no, just tell her this is not going to work out. This is not okay.
Obsessed.
So it's so funny. So he always asks, what's going on with Krista? Any more updates?
I'm going to give an update. It's funny. After we're done, I have a subby update. So basically, a part of my journey, because I'm a public figure, there's aspects of it that make it hard to share certain things, like about dating. As an example, I'm a woman that wants to have a husband at some point, and I don't want him to be hearing about all the riffraff of my dating process. You know what I mean? I wanted to find a space where I could share honestly and openly, because I'm learning so much. I'm enjoying myself. It's fascinating,
Yeah.
the relational aspect of stuff. So I have a subscriber channel on my Instagram where I share everything, and it's just everything moves quickly, so it's hard to keep up. But it truly has been such a joy for me to process with you guys and to share about things, because I'm new to dating. I haven't dated in over 10 years, 15 years. And the lessons that you learn and the things that you're gifted are just wild. And I chose it to be fun, so it is fun, but there are times where it's not fun. I will say that.
Do you think that you'll write a book about this in the future?
You know what? I definitely could, because I am having a lot of interesting experiences. And I think I've learned so much. Like, as an example, I am dating someone new and they're moving. And my therapist, she's amazing. She's been with me through this process. She called out recently. She's like, I find it so funny that you became interested in him when you found out he was moving. And I'm like, and she's like, there you go again, going for an unavailable person. And I'm like, I thought I had gotten past that. It's
Yeah.
just like the perfect little container for knowing and understanding yourself. And I think if what I try and do, even when I'm fumbling and failing at points, is just see everything as a spiritual lesson, a spiritual gift. And what I do know is that I trust myself enough at this point that I'm attracting people that are amazing and incredible. And I'm attracting instances and situations that are supportive of my growth. And I can trust that when I'm learning what I want, I'm learning what I don't want. And when you're older, because your standards are so high, it just makes the bar for your husband or your baby daddy so much higher than when I
Mhm.
was in my 20s. Like when I was in my 20s, I was like, you need to be tall, attractive, and my friends need to like you. And now I'm like, what's your credit score? What's your spiritual beliefs? Like, what is your morning routine? Like, it is like a whole thing.
No, but I love that. And I know you share the different types of people that you're dating. And of course, everything is done so tastefully. It's not like Krista's sharing
Yes.
all kinds of things. I don't know all kinds of details, but I do love that you talk about what people bring to the relationship and what, the experiences are.
Mm,
And you're doing it in a really curious way. And I
mm,
love that. And you're processing for us what's happening and noticing
yeah.
some things, wondering if that's really an indicator, good or bad. And I think that's so helpful. I got
Yeah.
married young in my 20s, but my daughters, I tell them date, but know what you want, know what your
Yeah.
standards are, know what you want, and also do your work so that you attract the person and the partner that you want. Like you also have
Yes.
to continue to do the work at the same time as you're expecting this other person to come into your life. So, what are some of the high level qualities that you really want
Mm.
in a long term partner?
This is cute. This is manifesting for us. You're helping me manifest right now.
I know.
I want to say, I'll answer that. I just want to say something that you made me think of was that in this, I think what I'm doing with what I do is take radical responsibility. So each one of these men is coming into my field because I'm attracting them and
Yep.
how I engage with them. I'm never victim. If anything
Right.
happens, I'm never in the victim. I'm responsible. I can communicate. I can say no. I can set a boundary. I can move on. I can stay.
Yeah.
So I think that's the one thing I want anyone to take forward with dating is that you can choose who you
Hmm.
let into your life in your field. You can say no, you can set a boundary, you can choose the experience that you want to have. And I've really carefully curated my experience. Doesn't mean it's always perfect, but I'm monitoring and I'm watching myself every
Yeah.
step of the way to see how I'm engaging with things. But the qualities of the person that I'm looking for, first, they need to have God as the foundation. They need to have a spiritual foundation for their life. And I've had beautiful experiences with men that have been deeply connected to God. And it's shown me how when we have that, there's so much that's covered. I trust where you're going. I trust who you're getting approval from. I trust who you're connecting with. I trust your values. I trust what you're gauging yourself against. And so that covers a lot. And so, whatever
Yeah.
people's beliefs are, it's like making sure to have your foundation set is really good. I want someone that's funny is important to me. And funny is like intelligence and play and banter and presence all at once. So, funny is so important to me. I want someone that's growth minded, someone that is interested in growing and developing in life. I want someone that's sovereign,
Mhm.
someone that is led and motivated by God or by their own path and purpose and isn't going to change who they are for the people they're around or the people that they're connected to, and really has this own center and source of their own desires and wishes and mission in life. Because I've come to find that as I've gotten older, not a lot of people are very clear or grounded on their path. And a lot of people are very wishy washy or wobbly and will people please and go along with things or whatever. But there's such a beautiful power in anchoring with a man that's really clear on who he is and where he's going. And then I'll say, as a last thing, play is so important to me. Like I said, humor, but it's also just like play. Like
Mhm.
I love life and I'm the deepest person and I need to be playing more. I need to have that dynamic oscillation between depth and play. And so I always want to be with someone who is incredibly playful and brings joy to life, because life can be really hard and life can be really long and there can be a lot that we go through. But if we're playing, it just can be the best time.
So good. This or something better for you. That's why I say all of
Yes.
those things and let God create that perfect mix that is just perfect for you, Krista.
What about your husband do you love? What have you found have been qualities in him that you've just really valued?
So he and I will celebrate our 30-year wedding anniversary in July.
Blessed.
I know, so blessed. And it's crazy. Like, I dated all the wrong people in college. And then I met him 2 weeks after I graduated from Miami. I went backpacking through Europe. Actually, no, so like a month and a half or whatever. But when I came back, we were set up together at a wedding. And the thing I noticed right away was he was such a great listener. He just asked
Wow.
so many questions and was so fully present. And that was just so nice and beautiful. And we did have the same shared values and background and faith. And so all of those things that you said were so important. It was like already a foundation. And then we just really both wanted family, and we would have a family however we could. Like, it was just important for us, whether we had our own or adopted. So there were just things that we talked about right away because I was serious. If this is going to go somewhere, you have to have those conversations. And I say I've learned things. People always say, what's the secret? And I say there's a couple of things, and they all start with a C. There's chemistry, which is important, but there's compatibility in across the board, communication when things get really hard, and compromise. And of course, there's respect and all the other kinds of things. But when you have all of those things as a foundation, and you communicate, and you're there to acknowledge, like, I love you so much and we're in this forever, there's just, I don't know, there's a safety. I think that's the other thing. Like, I always felt safe in my relationship. I never once in the 31 years we've been together have I ever doubted like that he was like committed and all in. And that's so important for me. That was just something that just makes me feel safe. And then, of course, from that place of safety, then all the other stuff can get figured out.
You know what I love that you just brought through that I want to just highlight is the commitment part. And we had a podcast guest on the other day, and it was really profound. He had wrote down his list of things that he was looking for, and he's a amazing man. And he met his wife, and he's, as soon as I met her, I knew she was the
Mhm.
one for me. And he's like, it wasn't like I made her prove to commit. I committed when I met her, and my
Oh,
commitment was what drove us and continued us to deepen and create the relationship that we wanted. And I just love that. And it doesn't mean we're like committing before. It was just like, it was a beautiful reframe, because I think when we think about meeting someone and just committing right away, it's scary and crazy. And it's like, it isn't always the best. So I just want to
right.
caveat that nuance here. But I just love that. I think so often now people are wishy washy and tepid and not sure, and wanting the best thing and wanting the perfect thing and wanting something better, that when people just don't commit to something and commit to
Yeah.
choice and commit to choosing, and even if it's committing to choosing them today, in this
Right.
moment, for this now time, it's what can you actually commit to in relationship? And then when you do that, you're actually growing, you're developing, and something's happening that is both very meaningful to you.
It's so true. And we were both, I was in Cleveland, he was in New York City. And so for us,
Mm.
I think we made that commitment that we were going to go all in and see if this was going to work because of the distance. And so in that, I think accelerated everything in a way. And this was like early 90s. So we were like writing letters on a house phone. There were no cell phones. We didn't even have email at the time. So it was actually a beautiful long distance courtship, which I think really helped in today's day and age of like constant connection, but also feeling so separate sometimes from other people. That was beautiful. It was like wonderful to wait in the mailbox for a letter or a call at night at 8 o'clock.
The
And make
best.
sure I was like, nobody else is getting through on this call. I'm not picking up the call waiting.
Yes, it's like intention, it's intentional, and you're focused and you're trusting and you're listening, and there's just such a beauty in that, because it is different now. There's so many options, there's so many people, there's so much quickness, so much in and out, and I'm in my own little vibe, so it's not like I'm perfect, but I really just love that. And it's funny because me and my ex, who were together, definitely one of my soulmates, together for 10 years, we did long distance for the first year we were together. And I actually really enjoyed it. I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved how it allowed us to deepen. I loved how it allowed us to focus on our connection over the physical. And it allowed us to build a sense of trust and intimacy that I think would have been missed if we would have been physical in person.
Yeah, so true. Oh, Krista, I could talk to you forever.
I
I want
know.
to talk a
I
little bit.
miss you.
I miss you so much. I have to see you again, so we'll have to
I know.
figure it out. Come to Cleveland. I know you've got a place here.
Yeah, I'm down.
What is your intention with the book? As you think about
Mm.
birthing something, writing a book is so personal, and there's a lot that comes up. And I know you've done podcasts and you have so many hundreds of episodes, but did you find that writing the book was more
Mhm.
intimate in some ways? Were there any doubts or fears or anything that came up in the process?
Yeah, it's a great question. During the writing process, I never had any doubts or fears. It felt really natural and easy. And I'm someone that's very in touch with my emotions and able to process and share. And I really enjoyed it actually because I'm in such a quick hit type of career where it's create something, put it out, see if people like it, do this thing. Everything's really fast. So it was nice
Mhm.
to work on something that was long term, that made me think about what I've learned, that made me put together my life's work till this point. But I'll say that the process after you write the book, where you're having to market it and promote it and see if people like it and come up against your limiting beliefs of what's
Yeah.
possible. And I'd say that's been really challenging for me. I'm someone that lives in an era or a space of growth edges, but I think this is hitting on a lot of the growth edges that I have and a lot of the things I struggle with, which are related to my thought that I'm not successful enough or my thought that I'm not profound enough or my thought that I'm doing all the things but not the right thing. And so book is the best. It's literally an incredible work and I think that's what's helped me calm any fears that I have when I'm in my beliefs of this is not enough, I'm not enough. I literally just remember the truth that like I've read that book a few times. I've written the book. It is an amazing book. And I'm like, outside of my judgment and my fears, this book is here to serve. And this book was like a labor of love. I put so much vulnerability and rawness in there. I have so much of what I teach and live by today that I know if I would have had this in my late 20s, I would have felt way less lost. I would have been able to see the truth of the path and I would have been way much more mentally well, spiritually well, physically well than I was during that time. And so it's like with anything that we do where we put ourselves out there or where we create or where we go against a growth edge or push ourselves outside our comfort zone, how can we just remember the truth? If you are here to serve, if you are here to do good, if you are here to offer something to the world that you truly believe is going to help people, that's all you can do. Come out of the illusion of success, New York Times bestseller, how many copies sold, and just be like,
Right.
I know this is good and I know this will help.
Oh, it's going to help. It's so amazing. Like I said, so people can buy the book now, right? We could do the pre-order,
Hmm.
which I did, and you're
Hmm.
offering a couple of specials and different things, bonuses if
Yeah.
you do it now. Tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about
Yeah, we have a free online virtual summit. So the virtual summit's going to be amazing. We have Sahil Bloom, we have Jillian Turecki, we have Shalina Ayana, Rising Woman, we have Spirit Daughter, Sade Simone, Natalia Benson. And we just have a really great lineup of people that are going to be incredible and profound and helping people up level and hit their newest timeline this year. So that event comes free when you pre-order. It's called Almost 30 Camp. So you can go to almost30.com/camp and pre-order the book to get a ticket to join us on that day. There'll be thousands from all over the world, just really tapping into their highest timeline. And then we also have a Saturn Return Masterclass, which has a lot of different modules on supporting you, like from a tactical level with the book. And then we have a Saturn Return guide. So basically, the book, Almost 30, is happening during your Saturn return, which is an astrological event that basically happens in your late 20s that kind of correlates to all of this information. And so the Saturn return guide can support you and your astrological sign specifically on where you are going and what's happening during this time. So there's a lot of different goodies. If you go to almost30.com/book, you can see all of them and you can get all of them if you pre-order.
I love it. And I'm actually going to get more books for other women that I know in the 20s because I believe so strongly in this book. It's so good. And I want them to be able
I
to
love
attend this
you.
summit. I adore you. It's weird. I want to say I'm so proud of you because, like, I just look at all the things that you're doing and it's so inspiring for me who
Mhm.
started this next chapter of my life later. It's just so
Yeah.
beautiful to see. And I'm inspired by your speaking and the writing and the podcast, of course, which has the most amazing guests. I ask everyone a final question, which is tied to the title of the podcast. What does it mean to you to live the width of your life?
I know I'll never forget when you said this. We were in London about it, and I was just like, that is just so incredible. I think living the width of my life is really just living the experience that is unique to me and my soul. And so that means making decisions that sometimes are hard. That means doing things that are different. That means living outside my comfort zone at points in times, like doing something like this. But it's really those moments of push and then the moments of like experience that I feel like help me really live the width of my life. But yeah, I love that question.
Krista, thank you so much. We'll include all the details, of course, in the show notes. And I'm so grateful that you said yes when I asked you to come on.
Of course, I was like, my girl, anytime. This is my joy and pleasure.
All right. Thank you so much, Krista.